I stared at the words scrawled in my 14-year-old stepdaughter's diary. I hope she disappears like Mom did, and told myself I could still fix this. That if I just tried harder, made better pancakes, asked fewer questions, took up less space in the house that would never really be mine, Emma and her siblings might finally accept me. I had no idea that 3 months later I'd be standing in our attic at 2 a.m, holding a stack of letters that would explain everything. Letters that would force me to choose between protecting 3 children from a devastating truth or watching my marriage collapse under the weight of a lie that was slowly poisoning all of us. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I tell you how a simple art therapist from Boston ended up dismantling a family's carefully constructed fiction, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I promise you'll want to hear how this ends. And if this story resonates with you, if you've ever been the outsider trying to love people who aren't ready to be loved, hit that like button. These stories reach the people who need them most when you do. Now let me take you back to where it all started. The day I married David Matthews, his 3 kids didn't come to the wedding. We'd kept it small on purpose, just immediate family, we said, though the truth was more complicated. Emma had informed her father she'd rather eat glass than watch him marry someone who wasn't Mom. Lucas, 11 years old and already fluent in passive aggression, said nothing but left the invitation on the kitchen counter next to the trash can. Sophie, the baby at 8 years old, cried and asked why Mommy couldn't come instead. David's face had gone gray when he told me. We were in his car, parked outside my apartment in Boston, my lease ending in 2 weeks. We could postpone, he'd said, his hands gripping the steering wheel, even though the engine was off. We're not postponing. Sarah? They'll come around. I'd reached for his hand. Kids are resilient. They just need time. God, I was naive. I'd been working as an art therapist for 6 years by then, specializing in children who'd experienced trauma. I'd seen every variation of grief, anger, and loss expressed in crayon and watercolor. I knew the theory. I knew the stages. I knew that children of divorce often directed their anger at the new partner because it was safer than being angry at their actual parents. Knowing didn't prepare me for living it. The house David owned in suburban Connecticut was beautiful, in that way that makes you understand why people leave cities. 4 bedrooms, white colonial with black shutters, a sprawling oak tree in the front yard, with a tire swing hanging from the lowest branch. The kind of house I'd dreamed about as a kid growing up in a cramped apartment in Dorchester. Monica's house, I'd think every time I pulled into the driveway. I was just borrowing it. That first week I tried everything. I made Emma's favorite dinner. David had given me a list, only to watch her push the chicken parmesan around her plate before dumping it in the trash. I bought Lucas new art supplies for the comic books he was always drawing. He left them unopened on his desk for 3 weeks, then told his father he preferred his old supplies. Sophie was the worst because she was the most conflicted. She'd curl up next to me on the couch during movie night, her small body warm against my side, then suddenly pull away like she'd remembered she wasn't supposed to like me. Give them time, David kept saying. He said it so often it became a mantra, a prayer, a plea. David worked as a hospital administrator at Yale New Haven, which meant long hours and a 40-minute commute. I'd taken a position that let me work from home 3 days a week, seeing clients via telehealth and doing in-person sessions at a clinic in town the other 2 days. It seemed perfect when we'd planned it. I could be there when the kids got home from school. I could help with homework, drive them to activities, start becoming part of their routine. What it actually meant was I was trapped in a house with 3 children who treated me like a virus they were trying to fight off. Lucas broke things. Not his things. Never his siblings' things. Just mine. The coffee mug I'd brought from my old apartment, the one my best friend had given me with art heels printed on the side, shattered on the kitchen floor. Accident, he'd said, not meeting my eyes. The framed photo of my parents from their 30th anniversary, knocked off the hallway table. I didn't see it there. My favorite scarf, the silk one I'd saved up for, turned up in the washing machine, shredded. Must have gotten mixed in with my stuff. Each destruction was calculated, each one plausibly deniable, each one designed to hurt, without crossing into territory where David would have to intervene. Emma's weapon was ice. She looked at me the way you'd look at a stain on new carpet, something unpleasant that needed removing, but no one quite knew how to address. She never yelled, never caused scenes, just existed in a state of perfect, polite hostility that was somehow worse than screaming. Sarah made dinner became, I'm not hungry. Sarah's driving you to soccer became, I'll walk. My name in her mouth always sounded like an insult. But Sophie was the one who broke my heart daily. She'd be sitting at the kitchen table after school, her dark hair falling into her face as she drew with colored pencils. Always the same picture, a woman with long dark hair, standing in a doorway with her back turned. The woman never had a face, just hair and a body, and that doorway, always a doorway, always walking away. That's beautiful, Sophie, I'd say, trying to sound casual even though my art therapy training was screaming warnings at me. She'd look up, her eyes, Monica's eyes, everyone said, huge and solemn. It's Mommy. I know, sweetheart. She's coming back soon, Daddy said. And there it was. The lie that was going to kill us all. I'd asked David about Monica exactly twice. The first time was on our third date, sitting in a coffee shop in Hartford, where we'd met halfway between his town and mine. What happened? I'd asked as gently as I could. His jaw had tightened. She left. 2 years ago. Decided she didn't want this life anymore. Does she see the kids? No. The word was flat, final. She made her choice. The second time I'd asked was a month before the wedding, lying in bed in my apartment, his arm around my shoulders. The kids are really struggling. David, maybe if Monica could just... No. He'd sat up, putting distance between us. Sarah, I need you to understand something. Monica isn't part of this equation. She left. She wanted out. Asking about her, trying to bring her back into the picture. It's not helping anyone. I'm not trying to bring her back. I'm just trying to understand. There's nothing to understand. She was selfish. She left. End of story. But it wasn't the end of the story. I knew that even then. You don't just walk away from 3 children and leave no trace, no explanation, no forwarding address. People don't evaporate. Not really. The neighbors gave me sympathetic looks I didn't understand. Women at the grocery store would see me with the kids and get this expression. Pity mixed with something else. Respect? Fear? I couldn't tell. David's mother, Patricia, had pulled me aside at our tiny wedding reception. You're braver than the others, she'd said, gripping my hand with surprising strength for a 70-year-old woman. The others? The women David dated before you. They didn't last long once they met the children. Her eyes were sad. Monica cast a long shadow. Still does. I'd wanted to ask what she meant. Instead, I'd just nodded and smiled and pretended I understood. 3 months into the marriage, I found Emma's diary. I wasn't snooping. I need you to believe that. I was putting away laundry, and the diary had fallen behind Emma's bed. When I reached for it, it fell open to a page dated 3 days earlier. Day 97 since Sarah moved in. She made pancakes again. They were fine. I hate that they were fine. I hate that Sophie ate too. I hate that Lucas almost said thank you. I hate her. I hope she disappears like Mom did. Maybe if someone else leaves, Dad will finally understand what it feels like. My hands shook as I closed the diary and shoved it back behind the bed. I stood in Emma's room, her walls covered with photos of Monica, a beautiful woman with Sophie's eyes, and Emma's sharp cheekbones and Lucas's shy smile, and tried to breathe through the tightness in my chest. She was 14, grieving, angry. Of course she hated me. But that phrase, like Mom did, wouldn't leave me alone. Disappear. Like it was magic. Like Monica had been there one moment and gone the next. No explanation. No goodbye. Just gone. That night, after David fell asleep, I did what I'd been avoiding for months. I Googled Monica Matthews. Nothing. No social media profiles. No news articles. No obituary. Nothing. I tried Monica Matthews, Connecticut. Monica Matthews, Yale, New Haven. Monica Matthews, missing person. Still nothing. It was like she'd never existed at all. The pipe burst on a Tuesday in March, 6 months after I'd moved into Monica's house. I was on a video call with a client, a 9-year-old girl who was using art therapy to process her parents' divorce, when I heard the sound of rushing water from upstairs. I ended the session early, apologizing, and ran up to find the hallway bathroom flooding, water pouring from somewhere inside the wall. I shut off the main water valve and called David. "How bad is it?" His voice was tight with stress. He had a board meeting that afternoon. "Bad. The contractor needs to come today. I'm in the middle of..." He stopped, breathed. "Okay, call Jensen. He did our kitchen renovation. Number's in my office desk drawer. Tell him it's an emergency. David, the water's spreading to the ceiling. It's going to damage the attic." Silence on the other end of the line, long enough that I thought we'd been disconnected. "David? The attic's fine. Just call Jensen. I'll try to leave early." But he didn't leave early. The board meeting ran long. Then there was an issue with a patient transfer. Then traffic on I-95. By the time Jensen arrived at 5 p.m., David still wasn't home, and the kids were due back from school any minute. Jensen was a broad-shouldered man in his 50s who'd clearly done this job for decades. He took one look at the water damage spreading across the hallway ceiling and shook his head. "I need to get into the attic. Check the extent of the damage up there." "The attic's locked." He looked at me like I'd said something insane. "Why?" "I don't know. My husband it's just storage." "Ma'am, with all due respect, you've got water damage spreading to your second-floor ceiling. I need to see what's above it. You got a key?" I didn't. I'd never been in the attic. David had said it was just boxes, old furniture, nothing important. The door at the end of the upstairs hallway had a padlock on it. I'd asked about it once. He'd said he'd lost the key years ago and never bothered replacing it. "I can cut the lock," Jensen said, "if you give me permission." I called David, straight to voicemail. I texted, "Contractor needs attic access for water damage. Can I have him cut the lock?" 3 minutes passed. 5. Jensen was watching me, patient but clearly wanting to get on with his job. My phone rang. "David, don't." His voice was sharp. "Don't let him in the attic. David, the water damage. I'll deal with it when I get home. Just, Sarah, please, don't go in the attic." "Why not?" "Because I'm asking you not to." We'd been married 6 months. In that time, David had been kind, gentle, supportive, exhausted. He'd never asked me to simply obey without explanation. Never pulled the "because I said so" card. Until now. "Okay," I heard myself say. "Okay, I'll tell him to wait." I relayed this to Jensen, who looked skeptical but professional. "I can come back tomorrow, but Mrs. Matthews, the longer that water sits, the worse the damage gets." After he left, I stood in the hallway staring at the padlocked attic door. From downstairs, I heard the front door open, the kids coming home from school. Sophie's voice calling, "Is Dad home?" Emma's footsteps heading straight to her room, the door closing firmly. Lucas in the kitchen, opening the refrigerator, closing cabinets with just slightly too much force. I looked at the padlock. "Don't go in the attic." Why? What was up there that David didn't want me to see? I thought about Emma's diary. I hope she disappears like Mom did. I thought about the Google searches that yielded nothing, about neighbors' pitying looks, about David's mother saying Monica cast a long shadow. I thought about being asked to love 3 children who hated me for replacing a woman I knew nothing about. The hardware store was 10 minutes away. I bought bolt cutters and was back before anyone noticed I'd left. David didn't get home until almost 9. By then, the kids were in bed. The house was quiet. I was sitting on the couch with a glass of wine I hadn't touched, still wearing the clothes I'd been in for 16 hours. He came through the door looking wrecked. Tie loosened, eyes exhausted, shoulders slumped. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "The meeting went long, then there was... It doesn't matter. I'm sorry. How bad is the water damage?" "I went in the attic." He froze halfway through taking off his jacket. "What?" "I waited until 7. You weren't answering your phone. Jensen said the damage was spreading. So I cut the lock and went in." The color drained from his face. Sarah, why is there a wedding dress on a mannequin up there, David? Why are there dozens of paintings of your children at ages they aren't anymore? Why is there a trunk with MC embossed on it full of letters? He sank onto the chair across from me, put his head in his hands. Why is Monica's entire life preserved in our attic like a shrine? My voice cracked. Why are her hospital bracelets from a psychiatric facility up there? Why are there letters dated 6 months ago if she left 2 years ago? You read them. It wasn't a question. I read enough. The silence between us was enormous. Outside, a car drove past. Somewhere in the house, pipes creaked. Normal sounds. Nothing about this was normal. She made me promise, David finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. She made me promise I'd never tell them. Tell them what? He looked up at me then, and I saw something I'd never seen in his face before. Not exhaustion, not stress. Raw, bottomless grief. That their mother didn't leave because she didn't love them. She left because she loved them too much to risk what she might do. We sat there until almost midnight while David told me everything. Monica had always been creative, passionate, intense. That's what drew him to her. A painter who saw the world in colors he couldn't imagine, who approached life with a fervor that made everything more vivid. They'd met at an art gallery opening in New Haven. She was 25, he was 28. They married within a year. Emma's birth was normal. Monica was a devoted mother, if maybe a little too devoted. She hardly let anyone else hold the baby. She checked on Emma constantly through the night, even when Emma was sleeping peacefully. David had thought it was sweet. First-time mother nerves. Lucas's birth brought the first cracks. Monica had trouble bonding with him at first. She'd stare at him in his bassinet with this expression David couldn't read. When he asked if she was okay, she'd snap back to herself and say, of course, she was just tired. All new mothers are tired. By Sophie's birth, something was very wrong. Postpartum psychosis, David said, staring at his hands. That's what the first doctor called it. Said it would resolve with treatment. But it didn't. It got worse. Monica started having delusions. She'd become convinced Emma was in danger, that someone was coming to hurt her. She'd check the locks on the doors and windows dozens of times a night. She stopped sleeping, stopped eating, started saying things that didn't make sense. David had taken time off work. They'd found a psychiatrist, medications. Nothing helped for long. She tried, David's voice broke. God, Sarah, she tried so hard. But her mother had schizophrenia. Monica was terrified it was genetic, terrified she was becoming like her mother. The breaking point came at Emma's 12th birthday party. Monica had seemed fine that morning, better than she'd been in weeks. Then, during the party, something switched. She'd accused Emma's best friend of plotting against her, said the girl was possessed, tried to lock herself and Emma in the bathroom to protect her. 15 kids watched as David had to physically restrain his wife while she screamed about demons and danger. Emma hasn't had a birthday party since, David whispered. She can't. The kids at school still remember. After that, Monica agreed to inpatient treatment. She was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, depressive type, with persistent delusional features. The medications helped, but never enough. She'd have good days, even good weeks. Then she'd have a day where she'd stand over Lucas's bed with scissors in her hand, paralyzed by the fear of what she might do, and David would find her there, sobbing. She was terrified of herself, David said. Every day she stayed in this house, she felt like a loaded gun around the children. She loved them so much, Sarah. Too much. That was the problem. She couldn't live with the risk. 2 years ago, Monica had driven to a bridge and sat there for 3 hours. She'd called David from there. I thought she was going to jump, David said, tears streaming down his face now. But instead, she said, I need to leave, and you need to let them think I wanted to. She made me promise. Made me swear on the kids' lives that I would never tell them the truth. Why? Because she said if they knew she was mentally ill, they'd spend their whole lives watching themselves for symptoms, waiting to become her. She said it was better for them to hate her than to fear becoming her. The next day, Monica left a note on the kitchen table. "I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. Don't look for me." She called David from a psychiatric facility in Oregon 2 days later. She'd checked herself in voluntarily for long-term care. "She writes to me," David said, "every few weeks, asks about the kids. I send her pictures, but she refuses to let me tell them where she is. She says she's broken, that broken things should stay broken, not infect what's still whole." I sat there trying to process this, trying to understand. The kids think she abandoned them. Yes. They think she's selfish, that she chose to leave. Yes. They hate her. They hate themselves for not being enough to make her stay. Yes. His voice cracked completely. And I let them. Because I promised her. Because I thought, I don't know what I thought, that it would be easier somehow. That protecting them from the truth was the same as protecting them. "David," I leaned forward. "It's been 2 years. Lucas is breaking my things because he's so angry he can't see straight. Sophie draws pictures of a faceless mother and asks when she's coming home. Emma has a box under her bed where she's documented every time you've lied about when Monica might return. They're not being protected. They're being destroyed by a lie. I know." He covered his face with his hands. "I know. But what do I do? Tell them their mother loved them so much she had to leave? Tell them she's so broken she can't trust herself near them? Which is worse, Sarah? Being abandoned or being dangerous?" I didn't have an answer. We sat in the wreckage of this impossible situation until David finally went to bed. I told him I'd be up soon. Instead, I went back to the attic. The air up there was thick with heat and the ghost of lavender perfume. Monica's wedding dress hung on a mannequin in the corner, yellowed at the hem, like Miss Havisham's ghost had taken up residence in our suburban Connecticut home. Paintings lined the walls. Emma as a baby, Lucas learning to walk, Sophie covered in finger paint. Frozen moments of a life Monica couldn't live anymore. I opened the trunk again. The letters were written on cream-colored stationery, the kind you buy at expensive boutiques. Monica's handwriting deteriorated across the pages, starting neat and looping, ending in jagged scratches. One letter was addressed to Emma. I opened it. "My brave girl, my firstborn, my Emma. I see you trying to hold everyone together. Stop. You are 14, not 40. Let your father carry this. Let Sarah help. I gave you life, but I will not let my death, even this living death, steal yours. You'll be angry when you read this. You should be. I've stolen 2 years from you already with this lie, but I need you to understand. I didn't leave because of you. I left because of me. Because every morning I woke up in that house, I looked at you and Lucas and Sophie, and I felt love so fierce it terrified me. What if that love turned into something else? What if the same brain that gave me all this love took it away and left violence in its place? I couldn't risk it. Not with you. Never with you. Tell Lucas I'm sorry I missed his soccer games. Tell Sophie I still remember every bedtime story. Tell them I'm not the mother they remember because that mother was already slipping away from herself. And Emma, forgive your father. He's been carrying my weight on top of his own. The lies he told were the lies I made him tell. Let him put me down now. All of you need to put me down. I love you. That's the truth. Everything else was just survival." Mom, there were more letters. One to each child. One to David that I didn't read because it felt like crossing a line even I wouldn't cross. And one more, tucked at the bottom of the stack, addressed to no one. Just dated 3 weeks ago. Some days are better. The medication helps. Therapy helps. But there's no cure for being afraid of yourself. No treatment plan for loving someone so much you have to stay away from them to keep them safe. I dream about them every night. Emma's laugh. Lucas's quiet intensity. Sophie's endless questions. I dream I'm whole again and I can go home. Then I wake up and remember. I am the danger I was always afraid of. The call is coming from inside the house. The monster has my face. Maybe someday they'll understand. Maybe David will finally tell them. Maybe it's kinder to let them hate a villain than mourn someone who's still alive. I don't know anymore. I don't know anything except that I miss them. And missing them is the only safe thing I have left. I sat in that attic until the sun started rising, surrounded by the preserved life of a woman who'd loved her children enough to become the enemy in their story. And I realized I could put these letters back, lock the attic, pretend I'd never seen them, keep living in this house of lies and careful silences, let these children grow up hating a mother who sacrificed everything for them. Or I could do the one thing David hadn't been able to do. I could tell the truth. Quick pause, if you're invested in this story. If you're wondering what I chose, hit that like button. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Because what I'm about to tell you changed everything. Emma found me in the kitchen at 6 a.m. I was sitting at the table with Monica's letters spread in front of me, drinking coffee I couldn't taste. She stopped in the doorway, stared at the letters. "What are those?" "Your mother's letters." Her face went pale. "From where?" "The attic. The contractor needed access yesterday because of the water damage. I found them." Emma crossed the kitchen in 3 strides and snatched a letter off the table. Her hands shook as she read the return address on the envelope. Pine Grove Psychiatric Facility, Portland, Oregon. "This is from 6 months ago." Her voice was barely controlled. 6 months ago? She's alive?" "Yes. She's been alive this whole time and Dad didn't..." Emma's face crumpled, then reformed into something harder, angrier. "You're lying. This is fake. You made these to make us hate her less so we'll accept you." "I didn't make them, Emma." "Yes, you did. My mother left." "She left because she didn't want us anymore, and now your mother has schizoaffective disorder." The words came out steady, clinical. My therapist voice. "She's been in long-term psychiatric care in Oregon for 2 years because she was terrified of what she might do to you. She didn't leave because she didn't love you. She left because she loved you too much to risk staying." Emma stared at me. The letter dropped from her hands. "You're lying," she whispered. But she didn't sound certain anymore. "I found dozens of letters up there. Psychiatric evaluation forms, hospital bracelets, paintings she made of you and Lucas and Sophie. Your father's been lying to protect you. Your mother's been gone to protect you. Everyone has been lying because they thought it would hurt less than the truth." "Shut up," Emma's voice broke. "Just shut up. You can't..." The sound of footsteps on the stairs. Lucas appeared in the doorway, hair sticking up, still in his pajamas. "Why are you yelling?" He looked from Emma to me, to the letters on the table. "What's going on?" "She's lying," Emma said, but there was no force behind it now. "Tell him you're lying." I looked at Lucas. Quiet, angry Lucas who'd been breaking my things for 6 months because he had nowhere else to put his rage. "I found letters from your mother in the attic," I said. "She didn't abandon you. She's been in a psychiatric hospital in Oregon for 2 years. Lucas's face did something complicated. "What?" "She's mentally ill, Lucas. She left because she was afraid she might hurt you." "No." He shook his head. "No, Dad said... He said she wanted out. He said she chose to leave. Your father lied because your mother made him promise to." The words hung in the kitchen. Emma had sunk into a chair, staring at nothing. Lucas stood frozen in the doorway. Then Sophie's small voice from behind Lucas. "Mommy's sick?" Oh, God. Sophie. She pushed past Lucas, her eyes huge, still clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Mommy's sick? That's why she left?" I'd dealt with trauma in children for years. I knew how to break bad news gently, how to calibrate information to developmental level, how to provide comfort while being honest. None of that training prepared me for this moment. "Yes, sweetheart, your mommy's been very sick, but she's somewhere safe where doctors can help her. Can we see her?" I don't know. "Does Daddy know where she is?" The sound of a car in the driveway. David's car. He'd left for the hospital at 5:30. He must have forgotten something. The front door opened. "Sarah? Why is your car?" He stopped when he saw us. Saw the letters spread across the kitchen table. Saw Emma's devastated face and Lucas's shock, and Sophie staring at him with growing understanding. "What's going on?" His voice was careful, terrified. "She told them." Emma's voice was hollow. "She told us about Mom." David's face went from white to gray. He looked at me with something like betrayal. "You promised you wouldn't go in the attic." "You promised you'd never lie to them," I said quietly. "I guess we're both breaking promises today." "Dad." Lucas's voice was small, younger than 11. "Is it true? Is Mom in a hospital?" David closed his eyes, opened them. "Yes." Sophie made a sound like she'd been hit. "She's been there for 2 years?" Emma asked. "You've known where she is this whole time?" "Yes." "And you told us she left, that she didn't want us anymore." "She asked me to." David's voice cracked. "She begged me to. She said, I don't care what she said." Emma was screaming now, fully screaming. "You lied to us. For 2 years you lied." "I was trying to protect you." "By letting us think our mother hated us? By letting us blame ourselves? By letting Sophie draw pictures of a faceless woman every single day because she can't remember what Mom looks like anymore?" Lucas had started crying, silent tears streaming down his face. Sophie ran to David and started hitting his legs with her small fists. "I want Mommy! I want my Mommy!" David tried to pick her up, but she fought him, kicked, screamed. Lucas backed away until he hit the wall, then slid down it, knees pulled to his chest. Emma put her head on the table and sobbed. I stood there watching the family detonate, and I thought, I did this. I'm the one who set off the bomb. David looked at me over Sophie's head. His eyes said everything, his mouth didn't. "You had no right. This wasn't your truth to tell." Maybe he was right, but watching these children shatter over a lie had to be better than watching them slowly calcify around it. Didn't it? We didn't all sit down and read the letters together like some kind of therapy movie. It wasn't beautiful or cathartic. It was messy and awful and took hours. David called in sick to work for the first time in 5 years. I canceled my client sessions. The kids didn't go to school. Emma locked herself in her room for 2 hours. When she came out, her eyes were swollen and she was carrying a wooden box from under her bed. "I've been keeping track," she said, opening it. Inside were index cards, dozens of them, each one dated. "Every time you said Mom would come back someday, every time you said she'd call, every time you promised we'd hear from her, I documented every lie." She dumped the cards on the table. They scattered like evidence. September 15th. "Mom's just figuring things out." October 3rd. "I'm sure she thinks about you every day." December 25th. "Maybe she'll send a Christmas card." David stared at the cards. "Emma." "I knew you were lying. I just didn't know what the truth was." She looked at me. "That's why I hated you so much. Because you were here asking questions and I was terrified if Dad told you the truth, you'd leave too." "Everyone leaves." "I'm not leaving," I said. "How do I know that? How do I know you won't find out we're too broken and go?" "Because I've seen the letters, Emma. I know exactly how broken your family is, and I'm still here." Lucas finally spoke from his position against the wall. "Can we read them? The letters?" David looked at me. I looked back. This was his choice to make. "Yes," he finally said. "Yes, you can read them." So we did. Right there in the kitchen, morning light streaming through the windows, we read Monica's letters out loud. David read first, his voice shaking. "I need you to promise me you'll never let them know. Tell them I was selfish. Tell them I didn't love them enough. But never, ever tell them the truth about what I am. Don't let them spend their lives afraid they'll become me." Emma read next. Monica's letter to her. By the end, she couldn't see through tears. Lucas read Monica's letter to him. "My quiet boy, I know you don't understand why Mommy had to go. Someday, when you're older, you'll learn that loving someone doesn't mean you're safe to be around them. I hope you never have to make the choice I made. I hope you grow up in a world where your brain doesn't betray you like mine betrayed me. Sophie couldn't read yet, so David read hers. My sweet Sophie girl, you are not the reason Mommy is broken. You are the reason Mommy tried so hard to fix herself. Every time I held you, I wanted to be better. But wanting isn't enough when your brain is your enemy. I need you to know, I didn't leave you. I left the danger I became. Those are different things. By the time we finished, we were all crying. Even me. And they weren't my letters. She's really sick? Sophie asked, sitting in David's lap now, exhausted. Like hospital sick? Yes, baby. Can we write to her? David looked at me again. I saw the question there. Should we? Is that making it worse? I thought about my training, about attachment theory, and ambiguous loss and the importance of narrative truth. Yes, I said. You should write to her. She's your mother. Sick or not, she's still your mother. What if, Lucas's voice was small, what if we ask to see her and she says no? Then she says no, David said. But you have the right to ask. Emma was quiet. Finally. I need to talk to her. Not just letters. I need to hear her voice. I'll call the facility, David said. We'll see what they recommend. The family therapist we started seeing the next week, Dr. Jennifer Hartwell, who specialized in complex family trauma, said what I'd done was therapeutically irresponsible and emotionally necessary. You forced a crisis, she told me in a private session. You didn't let them come to the truth in a controlled environment. You detonated it. I know. But that family was dying slowly around a lie. Sometimes detonation is the only option. That doesn't make it the right choice. No, she agreed. But it might have been the only choice. There's a difference. The kids started weekly therapy. Emma individually, Lucas and Sophie together. David and I went to couples counseling because the revelation had cracked something between us. Trust, maybe, or just the illusion that we were on the same team. You made me break my promise to her, David said in one session, his voice tight with anger. I kept that promise for 2 years, through everything, and you took it away from me. Your promise was killing your children. You don't know that. I watched Lucas break everything I owned because he had nowhere to put his anger. I watched Sophie draw faceless mothers and ask when she was coming home. I watched Emma document every lie you told because she knew something was wrong, but couldn't name it. How is that better than knowing the truth? Because the truth is that their mother is so mentally ill she can't be near them. How is that better? Because it's real. I was crying now, because real is something you can grieve. A lie is just a wound that never heals. Dr. Hartwell let us sit in that for a moment. Sarah, she finally said, do you think you did the right thing? I don't know. David, do you think keeping the secret was the right thing? I don't know anymore. Good, she said. Uncertainty means you're both finally seeing how complicated this is. Now you can start actually helping those kids instead of just surviving. 3 months after I found the letters, Monica's psychiatrist called David. She'd been stable for 6 months. Medications were working, therapy was working. She wanted to write to the kids directly. Not through David. Directly to them. We had a family meeting, kitchen table again. That table was getting a lot of use. Your mom's doctors say she's doing better, David said. She wants to write to you. Are you okay with that? Emma answered first. Yes, but I want to write back. You can. I want to tell her I'm angry. That she should have fought harder to stay. You can tell her that. I want to tell her I love her anyway, even though I'm angry. David's voice broke. You can tell her that too. Lucas, can we ask to see her? Yes. What if she says no? Then we'll deal with that together. Sophie, does she remember me? Every detail, baby. She asks about you in every letter she sends me. Even though she's sick? Especially because she's sick. Loving you is the only thing she's never confused about. The first letter from Monica arrived 2 weeks later. 3 separate envelopes, one addressed to each child. I wasn't there when they read them. David and I had agreed. This moment belonged to them and their mother. I went to my office in town and saw clients and tried not to check my phone every 5 minutes. When I got home, Emma was sitting on the porch steps. "Hey," I said. "Hey." I sat next to her, waited. She remembered my favorite color, Emma said finally, in her letter. She remembered I liked purple, and that I wanted to be a veterinarian, and that I hate tomatoes. Her voice cracked. "She's been gone for 2 years and she still knows me. She's your mother, Emma. Being sick doesn't erase that." I told her I want to meet her, in my letter back. "How do you feel about that?" "Terrified." She looked at me. "What if she's scary? What if she's nothing like I remember?" "Then you'll know. And knowing, even when it's hard, is better than wondering." Emma was quiet for a long time. "I'm sorry I said I hoped you'd disappear." "I know. I'm sorry I made everything so hard. You were protecting yourself and your siblings. That's not something to apologize for. Are you going to stay, even though we're—" She gestured vaguely. "This?" "Emma, I married your father knowing you had a mother somewhere. Finding out where she is and why she left doesn't change that. I'm not going anywhere." "Okay." She leaned against my shoulder, just slightly, just enough. "Okay, good." 6 months after I found the letters, 8 months after I moved into Monica's house, we got the call. Monica's treatment team had approved supervised visitation. If the kids wanted to see her, they could. Another family meeting. Another kitchen table conversation. "We're voting," David said. "Everyone gets a say. Emma, Lucas, Sophie. If even one of you says no, we don't go. This is your choice." Emma went first. "I want to go." Lucas. "Me too." Sophie. "Will she know me?" "Yes." "Baby." "Then I want to go." David looked at me. "Sarah, this isn't my vote to make. You're part of this family. You vote too." The 4 of them were looking at me, waiting. "I think you should go," I said. "I think you should meet your mother and let her see the incredible people you've become. And I think you should do it without me there." "Why?" Sophie asked. "Because this moment, meeting her, talking to her, that's for you 4. Your family. I'm not part of that equation." "Yes, you are," Emma said. "You're the reason we even know where she is. You're coming." "Emma, you don't get to blow up our whole world and then not see what happens next. You're coming." I looked at David. He nodded. "Okay," I said. "Okay, I'll come." Pine Grove Psychiatric Facility was 2 hours outside Portland, set back from the road in acres of pine trees. The building looked more like a resort than a hospital. Wood siding, large windows, gardens visible from the parking lot. We'd driven from Connecticut, 12 hours in the car, broken into 2 days with an overnight stop in Cleveland. The kids had been quiet for most of it. Emma listened to music with her headphones. Lucas drew in his sketchbook. Sophie asked questions every 20 minutes, then fell silent again. Now we were here, parked outside, and no one was moving. "I can't do this," Lucas said suddenly. "I thought I could, but I can't." "Yes, you can," Emma said. "What if she doesn't recognize me?" "She will." "What if I don't recognize her?" None of us had an answer for that. David unbuckled his seatbelt and turned to face the kids in the back. "Listen to me, all 3 of you. Your mother is not the woman you remember. 2 years of psychiatric treatment changes a person. She's going to be different. She might be sedated. She might be shaky. She might cry. And if at any point, you want to leave, we leave. No questions, no guilt. Okay?" They nodded. "Sarah," David said, "you're sure about this?" "No, but I'm here anyway." He reached for my hand, squeezed it. We went inside. Monica was waiting in a visiting room painted soft yellow. Large windows, comfortable chairs, a box of tissues on the coffee table. She stood when we walked in, and I saw Emma inhale sharply. Monica was beautiful. Even with the weight of illness and medication visible in her movements, even with her hair shorter than in the photos, even with tremors in her hands, beautiful. She looked at her children like someone seeing water after years in the desert. "Hi," she whispered. Sophie broke first, ran straight to Monica and threw her arms around her waist. Monica dropped to her knees and held her whole body shaking with sobs. "My baby, my Sophie girl, you're so big." Lucas was crying. Emma was frozen. "Lucas," Monica said, opening one arm. He went to her, collapsed into her. "Emma," Monica said. "I know you're angry. I know I don't deserve—" "Shut up," Emma said, and crossed the room, folded into her mother's arms. David was crying. I was crying. The staff member monitoring the visit was crying. We stayed like that for a long time. Monica on her knees, her 3 children wrapped around her, all of them shaking with tears. Finally, they separated, sat in the chairs. Monica kept touching them, Sophie's hair, Lucas's hand, Emma's knee, like she was confirming they were real. "You look so much like your father," Monica said to Emma. "Everyone says I look like you." "You got his stubbornness," Monica smiled. "It's a compliment. You'll need it." She turned to Lucas. "You're drawing? How did you know?" "Your dad sends me pictures. Everything you create, I have them on my wall." "Sophie, are you still sick?" Monica didn't flinch from the question. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm going to be sick for a very long time. Maybe forever." "Are you going to come home?" "No, baby. This is my home now." "Why?" "Because even though the medicine helps, I still can't trust myself. And I love you too much to take that risk." "That doesn't make sense." "I know. Someday it will." Emma spoke next. "I read your letters. All of them. I'm sorry I made you read them. I'm sorry for all of it. Don't." Emma's voice was fierce. "Don't apologize for being sick. Apologize for making Dad lie. Apologize for letting us think we weren't enough. But don't apologize for your brain." Monica looked at Emma for a long moment. "When did you get so wise?" "When I had to be." They talked for 2 hours. The kids told Monica about school, about their lives, about the things she'd missed. Monica told them about treatment, about the good days and bad days, about the art therapy she did here that helped. "I paint you," she said. "All the time. I paint Emma at every age I remember. Lucas learning to ride a bike, Sophie covered in pasta sauce. I paint the life I had to leave." "Can we see them?" Sophie asked. "Next visit." "If you want there to be a next visit." "There will be," Emma said. "If you want there to be." "Emma, I want nothing more." Eventually, the staff member said visiting hours were over. The kids didn't want to go. Monica didn't want them to go. But rules were rules. More hugs, more tears, promises to write, to call, to visit again. As we were leaving, Monica looked at me for the first time. "You must be Sarah." "Yes." "Thank you for telling them the truth. David wrote me, said you're the one who found the letters." "I'm sorry I broke your promise to him." "Don't be. It was the wrong promise. I see that now." She looked at her children, waiting by the door. "They're stronger than I thought. Stronger than I gave them credit for." "They're your children," I said. "Of course they're strong." The drive back was different. The kids talked, asked questions, cried, laughed, processed. "She's really sick," Lucas said at one point. "Yes," David said. "But she's still Mom." "Yes." I don't know how to hold both those things at the same time. "None of us do," I said. "But we're going to learn together." Emma fell asleep against the window around hour 7. Sophie curled up in Lucas's lap. David and I drove in comfortable silence. "I'm sorry," he said finally, "for making you the villain, for being angry at you for telling them." You weren't wrong to be angry. I wasn't right either. I was so tired, Sarah. I've been so tired for so long. I know. You don't have to do this. You didn't sign up for this level of complicated. I looked at him, then back at the kids sleeping in the rearview mirror. I married you knowing you had 3 children and a past I didn't understand. Finding out the details doesn't change the fundamental thing I signed up for. Loving you and figuring out how to be part of your family. That's still what I'm doing. Even though we're a mess? Everyone's a mess, David. Your mess just has better documentation. He laughed. Actually laughed. We drove through the night and into the morning, and somewhere around Pennsylvania, I realized I'd stopped thinking of it as Monica's house. It was just our house now. Messy and complicated, and filled with grief and healing, and 3 kids who were learning that love doesn't fix everything, but it helps you survive what can't be fixed. That was 18 months ago. The kids visit Monica every 3 months. They video call every Sunday. She sends letters and drawings. They send her updates, report cards, photos. Emma's in therapy twice a week and doing better. She started talking about college, about becoming a therapist herself. Someone needs to help other families figure out their shit, she says. I don't correct her language. Lucas still draws, but he's not breaking things anymore. His anger found other outlets: art, sports, therapy. He told me last month, I'm sorry about your mug, the blue one. I really liked that mug, and I still broke it. I know, I'd said, but you know what? Broken things can be fixed, or replaced, or we can just get new mugs and move on. Yeah, he'd said. Yeah, okay. Sophie's pictures have faces now. She draws Monica in the gardens at Pine Grove, draws her whole family together, even though that's a reality that doesn't exist yet. Maybe someday, she says. Maybe someday. David and I are still in couples therapy. Turns out forcing a family crisis is rough on a marriage, but we're working through it. Learning how to be partners when the foundation was built on secrets. And me? I'm still here, still working as an art therapist, still trying to figure out how to be a stepmother to children who are learning to let me in. Emma calls me Sarah, not Mom. I'd never ask her to. But sometimes, when she's feeling generous, she introduces me as my dad's wife, Sarah, who's actually pretty cool. I'll take it. The morning I found those letters, I thought I was looking at the end of my marriage. Turned out I was looking at the beginning of something real, messy and painful and complicated, but real. Monica was right about one thing. Loving someone doesn't mean you're safe to be around them. But the flip side is also true. Being broken doesn't mean you're not worth loving. I didn't marry a perfect family. I married a family brave enough to face their brokenness together. A man who loved his wife enough to lie for her. Children who loved their mother enough to forgive her. A woman who loved her children enough to leave them. That's the thing about secrets. They're never really protecting anyone. They're just postponing the moment when everyone has to face the truth. And truth? Truth is ugly and hard, and sometimes it breaks you open. But at least when you break open, you can finally start healing. If you've ever been in a blended family, if you've ever loved someone with mental illness, if you've ever had to choose between a kind lie and a hard truth, you know, love isn't instant. It's earned in the moments when you choose truth over comfort. So here's what I want you to do. Hit that like button if this story moved you. Subscribe and turn on notifications because I've got more stories about real people facing impossible choices. And drop a comment. Tell me, would you have told the truth or kept the secret? Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone in a blended family. Someone loving a person with mental illness. Someone who's tired of pretending everything's fine when it's not. Coming up next, I've got a story about a woman who discovered her husband's secret family, and what she did about it will blow your mind. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.